boring is profitable, and why so many great businesses have a lot of short, boring meetings. I'm Andrew Laurie from BGB, and I want to talk today about the rhythm of business. I want to talk about that underlying rhythm that is so often present in really effective businesses. And when I say effective, I'm talking about businesses that operate reliably, consistently, with the team performing at a really good level, consistently executing on their plans and delivering the outcomes the business wants. Now, in these sorts of businesses, you've usually got a pretty systematized operation. It's fairly clear who does what, pretty clear on what we're all about, how we operate. Maybe it's defining the culture or the values, those behaviors. Usually you've got a level of systematization, processes are clear. The management team are able to keep an eye on things through various dashboards. These are almost the tangible things you see that underpin that type of reliable, consistent operation. The other part of it, though, it's just, for the business to really work at that optimal level, you also need one other thing, which is, in a sense, it's the appropriate flow of information through the business. It's knowing that the right information gets to the right people at the right time. It's knowing that you can spot any issues early enough to resolve them. It's knowing that you can the right people, not everyone needs to understand everything, but the right people understand the right things at the right time. And this is where the rhythm of business really comes into play. And what it typically looks like is a scheduled set of meetings, sometimes other communications, emails and the like, that underpin that communication, that are systematically happening, reliably, regularly happening to a schedule, to a design, that ensure that passage of information. Now, exactly which meetings are going to be relevant to any individual business or any individual team vary a certain amount. But there are a number which are pretty consistently present across most businesses. So I'm going to talk a little bit about them. And you'll see when I talk about each of them, I'll talk a little bit about the purpose of each of the meetings. Meetings for meeting's sake, obviously a waste of time. Also, there's a real risk in some instances that you've got meetings and you just kind of talk. You typically talk about either nothing or you talk about the current issue, whatever is front of mind now. That often results in you kind of going nowhere or going in little circles. So the design of the meetings I'm going to talk about is all about keeping the business on track. They each have an agenda, they are designed intentionally, and they're there to keep the rhythm of the business, to keep the business going. Now, I'm not going to go through all the details of each one. You can look at that separately. But let me talk about a few of the common ones. So really basic level, each team, so each manager, for example, would have a team meeting with his direct reports, her direct reports, once a week. Pretty simple starting point. Now, it's not just a chat fest. What's it there for? It's there to check in as a team. Are we on track to our quarterly and or monthly goal? Goals, plural perhaps, with our plan and our numbers in some cases, depending on the team, numbers may or may not be relevant, but numbers and or plan. The second purpose of that is to share any learnings that people are picking up. People, whether that's from outside in the market or from what they're doing, people are learning something in the team, share it with the rest of the team. It's there to ensure issues are identified early. It's not there to talk about the issues ad nauseum, take those offline, but it is there to at least identify any issues that are popping up when you're not on track. It's those sorts of things. Likewise, the weekly one-on-one between a manager and their direct reports. Those meetings are there to ensure that the team have clarity, individual members of the team have clarity about what they need to do in the next week. What do they need to produce? What's the outcome they need to achieve? And checking in, how did you go last week? It's also the agenda prompts, any issues, anything you need the manager's help with. Pick those things up early and you never really get behind. Pick things up early, adjust, stay ahead of the wave the entire time, hence the rhythm. Those meetings are also a good opportunity to talk about the individual's development and make sure they're improving and developing in line with how they and you might be planning. Most businesses will have some form of sales, marketing, business development meeting on a regular basis, usually weekly or fortnightly. Any business that's trying to develop and grow, That part of the business is so central to it. What are our sales and marketing plans? What do we need to do in the next week or two? How are we going with it? How do we adjust constantly? Keeping up that cadence of activity and quality of activity to ensure those results are being achieved. So that type of sales and marketing meeting is pretty important. Things like monthly review, or perhaps first I should talk about the quarterly planning. The quarterly planning session is critical. That's where the team as a whole sit down together and put together the plan for the next quarter in line with budget, but also the activities we're going to undertake, initiatives we'll pursue, things we'll implement, who's doing it, when are they doing it, mapping out that plan for the quarter. And then the monthly review that ensures both we're on track to budget, so that's the numbers, but also we're on track with the plan implementation. And sometimes, where do we need to adjust? What new things have we learned? These are the types of interactions that just keep the rhythm of the business going. In some cases, for some businesses, or more to the point, in some situations, people like to have things like a daily huddle. Now, I'm quite a fan of the daily huddle. I think it will be valuable in lots of situations, not just urgent, critical situations. But the daily huddle is where, maximum of 15 minutes, the team stand up around a small table usually in the morning first thing, and make sure everybody's clear on what they need to achieve today. Now, as a corollary of that is you're checking in on how did you go yesterday. It's that constant rhythm of execution. Now, if you're having these sorts of meetings regularly in a scheduled way and you're doing them to the right agenda, everyone's clear on what needs to happen. You're keeping track of it happening. You're picking up any issues very early, very quickly, and resolving them. And that is creating that rhythm of reliability in the business. It just operates. It's the reason why, and I started with the comment that boring is profitable. Well, it's also true that in a lot of really successful businesses, they have a lot of meetings that are, boring, because they just took over. They get quite short. If you're having this meeting every week, these meetings every week or every fortnight, often they get shorter because you're on top of things. You don't have a lot of big things, big issues coming up to deal with. And so it's also true that in really effective businesses that are running like this, there is a striking absence of drama. It gets a bit boring. Funnily enough, it's why some people stop having the meetings. Oh, we don't do much in that meeting. Oh, it's not great. No issues are coming up because we're on top of things. Excellent. Keep having the meeting. Celebrate the fact that it's quite short. Crack on and enjoy the rhythm of a successful business performing reliably and consistently. All the best.